Time for business. Kate Moody joins us. UK companies once again preparing for the possibility of a no-deal Brexit.
Absolutely. Adding on, of course, onto the troubles they're already facing after the coronavirus pandemic, the EU now warning the UK government against any move to revisit or override last year's withdrawal agreement. The Federation of Small Businesses in the UK has now this Monday called on the government to provide them with targeted financial support to help them to navigate the next phase of Brexit. The group says they've had to spend much of the transition period dealing with the pandemic rather than their future outside the European single market, and that they're now less prepared for a no deal than they were 6 months ago. Economists, meanwhile, said the heightened rhetoric didn't substantially alter their predicted outcome. Most analysts say the chances of reaching a trade deal in time remain about 50-50, but they say it should be added to the short-term risks for the British economy. Currency traders warning that the pound could be in for a rough few weeks. Sterling dropped about 0.8% against the dollar, over 0.5% against the euro. Let's check in on the rest of the day's trading action now. The major European indices closed higher as they tried to shake off last week's tech-driven sell-off. Gains of around 2% across the board there. The DAX up despite data showing that industrial production in Germany had begun to lose steam. The CAC 40 was up 1.8% here in Paris at the close. Wall Street not trading today as the US marks the Labor Day holiday weekend. Donald Trump is once again ramping up his rhetoric on China, suggesting the world's two biggest economies should distance from one another. Decoupling is the word he's now used several times in recent weeks. The American president repeating that possibility this Monday, that the U.S. economy would not lose money if it no longer did business with China. And he said he was considering punishing U.S. companies that outsource work to China.
We'll impose tariffs on companies that desert America to create jobs in China and other countries. If they can't do it here, then let them pay a big tax to build it someplace else and send it into our country. We'll prohibit federal contracts from companies that outsource to China, and we'll hold China accountable for allowing the virus to spread around the world.
Shares of China's largest chipmaker dropped nearly 23% earlier after the U.S. threatened to blacklist it. The Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation has denied having ties with China's military. The Trump administration has been waging war against a number of Chinese tech firms, including Huawei and the popular app TikTok, saying that they pose a security threat. A foreign ministry spokesman in Beijing accused Washington of blatant bullying and breaking international trade rules.
This not only violates the rules of international trade and destroys the global industrial chain, supply chain and value chain, it also damages US national interests and its own image. We urge the United States to stop the erroneous practice of misusing the concept of national security to suppress foreign companies.
The coronavirus pandemic could lead to a shortage of shoes this year. Manufacturers in France say they're struggling to acquire the necessary materials, and shops are displaying on average 25% fewer models than usual. Luke Schrager reports.
School's no longer out, and with kids going back to class, new shoes are often on the shopping list. But for autumn 2020, there's far less on offer than usual, thanks to the coronavirus snarling up supply chains. This store is 25% down on stocks it should have, a major problem for shopkeepers at a typically busy time of year.
Ça représente facilement 40% de notre chiffre de l'année.
Last year, French consumers spent 8.7 billion euros on shoes, enough for around 300 million pairs, 4 or 5 per person on average at a budget of 130 euros. And with its own shoemakers faring poorly against foreign competition, particularly from Asia, 95 French manufacturers employing over 4,000 people are now struggling to get hold of the necessary raw materials.
On a eu des ralentissements, voire des ruptures complètes sur des approvisionnements, que ce soit de cuir, que ce soit de caoutchouc pour nos semelles, de lacets, voilà, tous les éléments qui vont constituer la chaussure.
This shoemaker's doing what it can to make up the shortfall for a target of 90,000 pairs for the year. However, they've had to make sacrifices, with a quarter of the autumn-winter collection not making it beyond the prototype stage.
Cette bottine, on n'a pas pu recevoir le cuir, donc on a pris la décision de ne pas lancer le produit.
One bright spot for consumers, Prices were fixed long before the pandemic, so there won't yet be any unexpected price rises.
There you go, Mark. Just when we thought 2020 couldn't get any worse, a looming shoe shortage.
Do you think it will last?
I certainly hope not. I'll do my best to
Get a better pun than that
boost
one.
well, there you go. To boost the market anyway. We all
Oh,
will.
there you go. Kate with the shoe collection. That's another story. I've got a substantial one myself, so who am I to talk? Kate with the business, thank you very much indeed. Great to see you.